on Issues. I'm Vice Mayor Jim Waring. Joining me on today's show is Phoenix Street's Transportation Director, Kini Knudson. Kini, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. It's great to be here.
Well, you've had a long tenure of, I think, 4 months in charge of the department, but we've actually worked together for quite a few years now as you've moved up the ranks in the department. You want to talk a little bit about the department? How many people do we have who work with you?
Well, we have close to 700 employees in the Street Transportation Department. We're a very busy department. We're responsible for nearly 5,000 miles of city streets, crossing the 500 square miles of our city. And so we have a lot of dedicated staff, but we have folks who are focused on maintenance of our city streets. We have folks who are working with our traffic signals and signs. We have folks that are working on designing and constructing new projects that affect our city streets.
It's a big job. And so we appreciate everything you do, but obviously, you know, resources are limited. They have to be spread out throughout the whole city. As you mentioned, over 500 miles, 5,000 miles of streets. I think about 915 of those are arterial or big streets like Bell Road and Greenway and Tatum and so forth, Camelback. So we've tried to do some things here recently as a council to direct more money towards streets. We voted to more or less do away with, or at least suspend indefinitely, the light rail line to the PV Mall. Can you talk a little bit about how that impacts the accelerated street maintenance program?
Well, first thing is, for our department, we do our best to stretch our dollars as much as far as we can. There's a lot of needs out there, and so we try to use those resources as wisely as possible. But as you mentioned, the City Council unanimously approved $200 million of additional pavement maintenance money that we can spend a little earlier to focus on the condition of our streets to better maintain our city streets. And so what we tend to do with that is we've been able to do a number of different types of maintenance projects through our city. On our streets, we do anything from a crack seal, which is filling in some of the cracks, all the way up to overlays, which is basically creating a new surface for the roadway out there. And so the new money that's coming in, that's going to be made available, to our department, we're using it in a lot of different ways, but I will tell you, first and foremost, we're trying to use it in the next 5 years, focusing on the next 5 years to be able to better put our streets in a better condition. In essence, the $200 million that Council authorized us back in October of 2018 is going to allow us to move our pavement maintenance schedule ahead significantly. And in fact, we're going to be tripling the number of miles out there of major streets, those major streets you were talking about, Bell Road, Greenway, Cave Creek Road. We're going to be tripling the number of roadway miles out there that we do the mill and overlay on, the major asphalt treatments out there on an annual basis.
Which is basically building a new street. For the public's purposes.
Essentially, that's the kind of treatment that everybody likes to see out there, because it does give them that new feel to the roadway. It's almost like it's a brand new roadway out there.
And so obviously when you have the brand new roadway, as long as you maintain it, it will last longer as well. So we're excited about it on 2 scores, because not only should it fix things for the present, it should extend their useful life into the future.
Absolutely. I mean, the streets are an asset for the city of Phoenix, and so we want to make sure we do our part to make sure they last as long as possible and extend the life where we can as possible. When I talk to our constituents, the public out there, but also our employees, I mentioned to them that our city streets are one of those services that everybody, whether you live in the city of Phoenix, you're visiting the city of Phoenix, or you're working in the city of Phoenix, you use every single day. So the condition of those roadways directly impact people each and every day.
Well, we were excited about the opportunity. Obviously, it's something that some of us at least have been talking about for years. I do think feedback from the public, as you suggest, we had just done a public meeting up in District 2 just about a month ago and got some feedback from the public about trouble spots. My understanding is that with this extra money, that sort of fell off the truck last October, if you will. You know, realistically, we're going to be advancing the 5-year plan and condensing that plan into about 18 months. Is that a fair assessment?
That's a great assessment of it. Essentially, if you remember when back in 2015, when Phoenix voters voted for Transportation 2050, Proposition 104, it laid out a 35-year plan for us to do a lot of these things. But as part of that, we worked with City Council to get a 5-year pavement maintenance plan. So we were looking 5 years in the future about what streets we were going to be maintaining. And when this $200 million came to us back in October, the easiest thing for us to do was to take that 5-year plan and shrink it into an 18-month plan. So we took all those major maintenance projects, those overlay projects for the next 5 years, and we shrunk them into the next 12, 18 months. And we're actually starting that work as we see on the streets right now.
I've seen it in my district.
But you also mentioned the outreach we're doing to the public. So we held meetings all around the city. We're up over right now about 50 meetings that we've gone out to the public and talking to them. But I will tell you that it's just not, you don't need to come to a meeting to express your input. We have an interactive maintenance, pavement maintenance tool where you can give input and feedback, just like if it was a Google Maps interactive kind of tool out there. So you can go in there and drop in where you see potholes, where you see cracks, where you see rough and bumpy surface, and you can go and provide that input. And so far, we've gotten over 4,000 hits on different streets around the city of Phoenix. So this public outreach that we're doing right now is a great way for us to get input from the public about where they want to see us focus on. Because I mentioned that 5-year plan has been shrunk down to an 18-month plan. So we have basically 3 years of projects in this 5-year plan to be able to fill in. So we're looking for public to help us to do that.
And then develop another longer-term plan and having more resources to do it. So do you have to be a computer expert to go on and point out where you think there are some trouble spots? How does that actually work?
Well, depending on how comfortable you are with it, we have at some of these meetings we have paper comment card. So you can submit a comment card. This is the street we think needs to be maintained. We also have an email address that you can use as well to be able to send us an email about the streets that you're concerned with. But going back to that interactive tool, if you're familiar at all with using Google Maps or any kind of interactive map where you kind of can scroll in and look at an aerial view of the city of Phoenix, it essentially does that. You zoom down to a street level and you say, this is the area where I see a pothole, or this is where I see a crack, or an area with the street, and you can drop this tool, this pin right in that location. So it is pretty, it's pretty easy to use, and you can do it on your smartphone if you have a smartphone, or you can do it at your computer at home, or you can, like I said, you can use email, an email address as well to be able to give us that feedback.
And the underlying point of all this is there's lots of options. You don't necessarily have to have a computer. You don't even necessarily have to have a phone if you make your way to one of the meetings, because you can do it by paper.
That's exactly right. We wanted to provide as many options as possible, but we also know that people's time is limited, and so maybe they can't make it to a meeting. And so maybe it's more convenient for them to, when they have a thought in the middle of the night that they want to express their input for a city street. So we wanted to have that option as well. So it's not like you can only come to a meeting at Wednesday night to be able to provide that input. You can do it anytime you want.
And for potholes, we have an emergency 24-hour number, correct?
Yes, we have a phone number that you can call for our department and anytime, and it's probably the best way to call in a pothole if you see one out in the city street. And we typically have a 24 to 48-hour response time on those to get those taken care of. And we do get those regularly, and we do our best to get out there as quick as possible to get those taken care of, because we do know those are areas of concern for our residents, and it's obviously an area of concern when you're driving your vehicle and hitting one of those. You don't want to hit it more than a couple days in a row before it gets fixed.
I mean, they can be a safety issue too. So certainly motorcycles and bicyclists particularly, you don't want anybody to get hurt. And so we would encourage the public, use one of these resources, one of these tools that we have tried to provide to let us know, where the trouble spots are.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Sometimes we get focused on the cars that are using our roadways, or the buses or trucks, but those bicyclists and the motorcycles as well are a little bit more vulnerable to those kind of issues with the roadway.
Yeah, it can be a big safety hazard. So now switching gears on the safety front, stoplights. If I'm a citizen and I think there's a trouble spot, how do I try to get in line for either a stoplight or a hawk, and maybe you can explain what that is, or a crosswalk? How does all that come to be?
Well, the wonderful thing about our department is we use all different types of tools to be able to handle traffic and get traffic around and be able to control traffic and deal with issues that might be around the city. I will tell you, every year we go through an evaluation process with locations around the city. We have different traffic control tools, and I'll kind of talk about those briefly. We have what we call Hoc Pedestrian Signals, and those are the signals you see out there where it is a signal that it's usually turned off until somebody wants to use it. It's a pedestrian or bicyclist wants
Someone
to
has
cross.
to proactively say, I want to cross now. That's the only way it comes on.
Exactly. So the light will be off, and then if somebody pushes the button very shortly after there, the vehicles that are on that roadway will get a signal that said you need to stop and with red light, and that'll give an opportunity for people to cross the roadway there. And that's where we use it. It's mainly focused on pedestrian or crossing of a roadway that may not be exactly at an intersection. We also have traffic signals at intersections, and typically those are at our major streets where we have major street activity crossings between north and south and east-west. But there are also some gaps between those traffic signals, sometimes because of development patterns or things like that. Things have changed, and so that we need to have a better traffic control at those locations rather than just a two-way stop on the minor entrance into that major roadway. And so those are also requests we see. We get requests from people to look at those locations to see if a necessary traffic improvement is warranted there. And so what ends up happening is we'll get those feedback, those input, and that can be through email, it could be through calling our dispatch number. There's a variety of ways you can express it, even if we're at a public meeting, a neighborhood meeting, and you have a request. That's where we can get some of those that feedback and input as well. And what we'll typically do is, once we know about a location, we'll go out and do a traffic study on it. So we'll put out some counters out there to see what kind of traffic volumes are out there and what kind of different activities going out there. And then we take that data and we analyze it, and then we use industry type standard warrants to determine whether that data or that traffic warrants a signal or a Hoc signal or whatever else we might want to do at that location. And then we obviously evaluate it against the budget we have each given year to see where from a prioritization standpoint, what signals and what projects we can put in the next fiscal year.
And check me if I'm wrong, but isn't there sort of an international traffic playbook that if you deviate from it, that's not good? You can be subject to lawsuits. Because I can tell you, people think they can call my office and I can just order you guys to put up a stop sign. And of course, you and I both know, that's not true and could actually be dangerous depending on where you're putting in the crosswalk or the stop signs. Maybe you can explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, and that's a great point. There are manuals and regulations that we go by and we use, and that those are guidance, but it's just guidance not just for the city of Phoenix, but it's used, like you said, around the country, around the worldwide. And essentially what we want to do is we want to make good decisions that are not necessarily meant to handle one specific issue, but to make sure it works for the entire system of traffic moving through our city. And so we want to make sure if we're using a Hoc pedestrian signal, it's the right application at the right location. If we're going to put in a traffic signal, it's the right application in the right location. And the same thing with a stop sign, and even just putting stop signs in. Sometimes we have to make sure that we do it the right way. I would also mention crosswalks. Because when we're looking at creating something new out there for drivers, we want to make sure that drivers are prepared for it, they know what it means, but also that people who may use that, like for example a crosswalk, we want to make sure pedestrians don't just have a false sense of security that they can cross at this location and that traffic is going to honor them being in that crosswalk. And so same thing with traffic signals. We want to make sure that traffic signals don't create, hey, this signal's not necessary, we're just going to blow through this red light or we're going to blow through this stop sign. We want to make sure that we make decisions out there that make sense and that are warranted. So that's the reason why we really collect that data and we do that research and analysis and then evaluate against those guidance documents that we use and the requirements that we have.
Yeah, so it's clear, I may make a request for a stop sign or a Hoc or a light, and I have done that, but it's only going to get put in if there are funds available, because stoplights are expensive. But more importantly, that it's safe, that it makes sense. And I would give you one example of one I requested that did get put in. The Hoc at Horizon High School crossing Greenway. Realistically, you had kids, walking across a pretty busy street with no real protection, and we didn't want to have a tragedy, obviously, anywhere, but we definitely didn't want to have one at a school like that. And so the Hoc there makes sense because you have a sort of a, here's why people are crossing the road. There's a dedicated reason it's going to get used a lot, and it does. I see it. I drive down that road, and I think that makes sense. I was a citizen, actually requested this. I put in the request, and it happened. Now, those things aren't cheap. The Hocs are $70,000?
Yeah, approximately about $70,000 for a Hoc location. And a full traffic signal can, depending on the location, can be anywhere between $250,000 and $300,000.
Now, sometimes if a developer is developing that corner, perhaps they chip in or pay for the whole thing. We've had both of those things happen even recently.
as I mentioned earlier, we try to do our best to keep our money and our resources going as best as possible and in the most efficient way. And sometimes, like I said, if we're able to do a timing as far as when a development's coming in and have a developer help pay for a signal, whether 25% of it or 50% of it.
We might not need that signal. It might not be justifiable if they weren't coming in. So it's a little bit of a user fee to my mind.
Exactly. So the traffic load, or whether it's houses going in, whether it's a commercial development going in, they're going to provide additional traffic load on that intersection, and so they need to be partially responsible for that, whatever the proportionate amount of impact they have on that intersection.
Now, switching gears back to the paving. So if you're in a neighborhood, can you explain a little bit about the quarter-mile sections and how that works and how each street is evaluated?
Okay. That's a great question. First, I'll go through how it's evaluated. We're very fortunate in the City of Phoenix that we have a tool that we use. It's a pavement management van. It's a van. It's actually decked out with all types of equipment, cameras, sensors, and it goes and drives our city streets every single year. And so what it ends up happening is that data that it collects, it looks at all the different cracks, the roughness areas, where you might have potholes and issues in the street, and it takes all that visual data and that sensing data, and it translates into a number. And that number is what we call a pavement condition index, and that it ranges from 0, which is really, really bad, to 100, which is great. And
what does 0 look like? I never really thought about that before. Just crumbled, just dirt?
Luckily, we don't have any zeros in the City of Phoenix, but I would assume it'd be similar to some kind of dirt road on a backcountry highway or something like that.
That never really occurred to me before.
I really hope that we don't have any zeros, and my goal is to get everything as close to 100 as possible. And I'll tell you that van goes out, and I'll tell you sometimes people really are connected with their city streets, and so they're always feel more passionate and concerned about their city street. And what this van does, it provides objective criteria. So it's evaluating streets on the west side of Phoenix the same as east side of Phoenix and north side of Phoenix and south side of Phoenix. And so that number we use to be able to determine how bad roadways and which ones need the most repair. Now you mentioned the quarter.
It's really grading on a curve, right? I mean, it's comparing your street to every other street, in effect.
Exactly.
If your street is number 100, if you're mile number 100, we have 5,000 miles of streets, your street is in pretty good shape, even if you don't necessarily think that it is.
Yes. And going back to the quarter section, so we use that data, that pavement management van data, then to determine what projects we're going to do, what type of treatment, because not every street needs an overlay. Some streets may use something we call a microsurfacing, which is a thinner layer of asphalt that's put out there. Some might just need a fog seal, which is kind of like I would call it a fresh coat of paint for the roadway, and it freshens up the roadway and it actually seals it up. So there's different layers of treatment that we use. And we use the pavement condition index to determine what's the right treatment. But when we go and decide that this is going to be an overlay, maybe we're going to do a mill and overlay, an asphalt overlay in a neighborhood, we don't just do the single street. We treat them as quarter sections. And what that means is, since our streets are in a north, south, east, west kind of grid system, we have quarter sections, which are just basically collections of roadways, or a collection of area of the city. And then we tackle those streets in a quarter section. So we'll do all the streets in a quarter section as with a treatment type, and then we'll move to another one. So sometimes we hear from residents that say, well, the street just to our north got paved, but ours didn't. And what happens is that quarter section was going forward this year. Your quarter section may be happening next year. We're trying to be do better about coordinating that, so we don't create this kind of a feeling of inequity sometimes among city residents who see their streets.
I can assure you that will always exist, because at some point you're going to stop paving unless you just start at the bottom and work all the way to the top and do it sequentially. So yes, that is a very common phenomenon. I get the most complaints about streets from any neighborhood that just had the streets right across the street done. But I think once you explain the process to people, they understand. And the ranking process also makes it seem, because it is, much more fair. But it is still possible to have at least some human element in it. And there's some areas, so I was out with Mark Locke, who works in your department and covers streets for the whole city. We went out with several constituents who did not know each other, but had issues with some of the same areas. So the 4 of us, or 5 of us actually with Mark driving, went out and looked at some areas up by Mayo Boulevard and south along 56th Street, for those who are familiar. And sometimes there's nothing you can do. The same thing is, it's not really your responsibility to provide the resources. The council or voters or a combination provides the resources to you. And then, through that voter initiative that you mentioned from 2015 to 2050, realistically, you have to work within the confines of that. You can try to stretch the dollar while still being safe, but it's not really your responsibility to create new resources unless you come up with something really ingenious on how to a cheaper way to pave roads. Well, the same thing is true of the materials you have to work with, because up there, the soil underneath is just not necessarily up to the task to holding roads, and I'm sure you're familiar. So you get cracks where a mile to the south, you don't see the same kind of cracking. It's just a different mixture. So there's only so much we can do. At some point, an area like that is going to have more cracks than others. Another area that has always been problematic is cul-de-sacs. Correct? They seem to deteriorate way faster. I guess it's just the torque or something of people driving on that. So some things are going to deteriorate faster. So it's not necessarily a linear path to who goes next in terms of getting a new street. Is that a fair synopsis?
Absolutely, and I should say that when we use that pavement condition index I referenced earlier, that's a purely objective. So when you talk about the human element, and that's what I really wanted to point out.
There are variables, I guess, is what I should have said.
There's variables in the fact that when we're looking at this accelerated pavement maintenance program that we're underway right now and collecting the public input, that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring some of that human element to basically subjective evaluation criteria towards the objective evaluation criteria that we have with the pavement condition index. It's putting those two together. And the example I'll use is this, is you could have 3 roads across the city, or even 3 roads in District 2 that have the same pavement condition index. And we say, we're gonna do this one this year, this one next year, and this one the following year. But at the end of the day, the constituents or the public feel more passionate about this one. Does it matter which one we do first? Not necessarily. And so if there's an opportunity for us to use public input and feedback to say, this one means more to us today to do this one, we'll balance that with our objective criteria we have. And that helps putting a better solution together. Because if it's just us in a room looking at numbers, we could make good decisions, but I think they're much better decisions once we have a little bit of feedback from the public on which one's more important to them.
Well, that's an excellent point. And, and the point I was raising is the streets don't wear all the same either. So, we do the arterials, I'm sure. They need more work. They got more people driving on them. They're driving faster. I don't know if that affects it exactly, but, they're just getting heavier trucks on a more regular basis. So I assume those have to be overlaid and milled and everything else that you guys do more often. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, and I think anybody who lives in a neighborhood will know that your neighborhood streets don't deteriorate near as fast as the ones you use every day, the arterial streets out there, the major streets. And so yes, we do have to give a lot more love and attention and resources to our major streets, and because they're bigger as well, they are more expensive to maintain. But I know when we're talking about the wearing and tearing of our streets, one of the things that we want to be focused on as well is because a lot of the streets that we have out there aren't necessarily built by the city. Some of them are built, a lot of them are built by developers when they're building, developments, whether it be commercial developments or residential developments. And so one thing that's incumbent upon us is to make sure that the right, I would say the geotechnical work and things like that for those soil conditions in some of those areas where we have those issues, we fully address those before we accept those roadways in as public streets. So that's something we continue to work with because we want to make sure that whether the city builds a street or a developer builds a street, they last the same amount of time.
So out of curiosity, what is your sphere of responsibility in terms of one street? Let's say you have a sidewalk and maybe a little area in between the sidewalk and the street, then you have the street, and you get the other side of the street, you have the curb and gutter and everything, and then back up to the sidewalk. What is your domain in that?
Well, essentially what I'm responsible for is, from a legal standpoint, is I manage the right-of-way, the public's right-of-way, for the benefit of the public. And what the right-of-way is essentially, it's not city property. It's something completely entirely different, which is basically, it's called right-of-way, but it's roadway or land that's provided for a public purpose, for transportation. So what we have is when you're looking at a business on one side of a street and a business on another side of the street, they have property line boundaries. So where those property line boundaries are is basically to the other side of the street is right-of-way. And I'm responsible for all the right-of-way within there. Now, generally that means that if there's a sidewalk issue or a landscaping issue or a street light issue or curb and gutter issue or roadway issue, that's our responsibility to take care of. But I will tell you, there are some areas of the city where property owners are responsible for the sidewalks or the landscaping that's in front of their businesses. And also, if you look into some of the residential developments where you have homeowners associations, they're responsible for the landscaping and the sidewalks that are on their streets within their network. The best way to find out is if you have an issue, is to contact us. We'll do the due diligence and investigate it, and if it's our responsibility, we'll take care of it. If not, we'll help refer you to either your HOA or the right business or the property owner that needs to take care of that issue.
And that's an issue that comes up pretty frequently, and people are sometimes surprised that I don't know, with 5,000 miles of streets in the city, and we have more streets in District 2 than any other district in the city, and I think it's about 14.5% of the total streets. You know, there's no way to know. You wouldn't know either. Sure, you know your business well, but you probably don't have all 5,000 miles committed to memory of who's responsible for what. And we've had this come up in the city where the HOA was supposed to deed the pristine sidewalk when the development was built over to the city, and they didn't, and something goes wrong with the sidewalk, and now we can't fix it because of the gift clause. So we've had different instances over the years. One of the things that comes up fairly frequently is either litter or debris along the roadway. People assume that it is the city's responsibility to clean that, but that is not necessarily the case, and it's not necessarily your department's case, even if it is the city's responsibility. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Well, one thing I'll tell you is you might see our street sweepers out there running. We run our street sweepers on all our city streets, but the main reason why they're there is not actually, which is some people don't understand or know, is to pick up garbage or trash or litter. It is to take care of dust. It's actually, we have dust issues here in the valley, and those street sweepers are out there to be able to control dust. But I would always say, you know, whenever you see trash and litter out there, sometimes it's the Public Works Department's responsibility. Sometimes it may be the HOA's responsibility if it's in a neighborhood area. Sometimes it's just incumbent upon us as citizens of the City of Phoenix. I mean, I'm a citizen of the City of Phoenix as well, to do our part too, to help clean up some of those things as well. It may not get thanked or patted on the back, but I think we all have a part to play in making sure our city streets are in the condition we want them to be.
I wanted to mention that specifically just so that people didn't automatically, you know, blame the streets department, because that seems to where people always seem to focus, and I explained that's not necessarily the case.
I appreciate that.
So we will pass it along, and you guys, like we said, we'll look at the maps and we'll see what we can do. But can you believe it or not, that's the 28 minutes. So I appreciate very much your coming on. Hopefully this will be very educational for people who get a chance to watch, and really appreciate all your efforts, and good luck in your still relatively new job, 4 months. So we really appreciate you coming on today and giving these explanations.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, for the invitation. I really do appreciate it.
Of course. And if you have any comments or questions, please call my office at 602-262-7445 or visit my website at phoenix.gov/District 2. We look forward to seeing you next time on The Issues.